I recommend if there's any part of you that's been having pain or any part of you that you are trying to reconnect with more, if it's your fertility, going in that like second chakra area for sure. If you're having digestive issues, feeling that intestinal area. I'm Heather Grzych, and this is the Wisdom of the Body podcast. This podcast explores the idea of body intelligence as the real key to learning the knowledge of life, or what we call Ayurveda in the ancient language of Sanskrit. We do that by connecting with today's creative leaders and experts who will help you listen to your body, trust your gut, and live in deeper harmony with nature. Come join me as we unlock the golden door to clear, direct perception and become very deep listeners. You can find the Wisdom of the Body podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Stitcher. You can also follow us by joining my email at heathergrzych.com or on Instagram at heathergrzych. I know you're going to love this podcast, so take a second right now to subscribe. So today we're going to do a deep body dive, and we'll do a little bit of journaling and a little bit of meditation. And so if you don't have a notebook, go ahead and grab one, or you can type on your computer if you like to do that. But we'll be entering into a space of our body and getting to know it very intimately. All right, so just get settled in, and it's optional if you'd like to close your eyes for this. There may be moments where you want to close your eyes. There may be moments where you want to keep your eyes open, where you actually want to visually look at the part of your body that we're going to study. And so just first getting settled into your body, right? So get a sense of like your whole body, because you were probably just doing something that was involving your head, or maybe you were like chopping vegetables in the kitchen or cleaning a toilet. Who knows? There could be a million things that you were doing, but typically when we're doing things in the world, it's involving parts of us, right? It's not necessarily involving every part of us, though our heart is always working and sending energy to the periphery of our body, to all the organs, to all the places of the body. And we have our nerves and our sense organs, or certain parts of us that are working all the time. But when it comes to will and action and things like that, sometimes we're usually only using a part for an activity. As example, chopping vegetables, we're using our hands and our arms. We're standing, right? But we're not necessarily doing like core exercises while we're chopping vegetables. Although you could be doing core exercises. You could be like, I'm going to exercise my core while I'm chopping vegetables. But today we're going to pick a part of our body, any part you want, because you could do this for, part at a time, but we're going to pick one today. One part of your body that you feel a little bit disconnected from and that you feel comfortable reconnecting with today, that you feel like, I'd really like to just see what's going on here. Or it could be an area that you have been feeling pain on. It could be an area that you literally feel disconnected from. It could be an area that you've been noticing odd sensations in, or just an area that you want to learn a little bit more about. So for example, today I'm going to pick one of my feet. You could pick a breast. You could pick your bicep. You could pick your belly. You could pick specifically a point on your belly, like near your liver, or you could pick down near your womb, like near your uterus or your bladder, or you could like slip your hands on underneath and like concentrate on your female parts, right? Your glutes, any part you want to pick. I have my reasons for picking my feet, but you can pick any one that you want to pick. Go ahead and pick that. And then once you pick it, just go ahead and put your hands on that part of your body. So whatever part that is, put your hands on it. And if it's your hands, then, if it's one of your hands, then put the other hand on it. I want you to touch it, whatever part you've picked. And if you feel funny, like if you've picked a part that's very intimate, you don't have to be on camera right now, but just hold that part, just touch it and kind of just hold it. Like, how would you hold something, anything? You pick up a little baby. How would you hold that? Or you pick up a dog or a cat. Like, how would you just touch it? If it had fur, you'd probably pet it, right? But if it didn't have fur, then you might like squeeze it a little bit, gently like press into it a little bit. If you're familiar with the term palpation, right? Kind of just gently pressing, tapping into the area, feeling like the density of that area. So when we think about the qualities in Ayurveda, the qualities of our bodies, the qualities of nature, we're looking at these pairs of opposites, right? These gunas, we call them, the qualities. And so like one of them is density, right? The density of something. Does it feel dense? Does it feel very dense? Does it feel kind of a little more airy inside there? Does it feel liquid in there? Does it feel flexible or hard? Does it feel hot? That's another good one. Temperature, right? So what does the temperature feel like? And what does that temperature feel like? Does it feel hot, cold, neutral? Thinking about all of these qualities to the body. Does it feel, if you're on the body part itself, does it feel dry or does it feel wet or oily? Does it feel smooth or does it feel rough or scratchy? And so that each of these feelings requires a different kind of touch, right? Like to feel the smooth versus rough, you have to kind of slide your hand along the tissue. Like my son always talks about these sharks and how sharks, and if you touch them in one direction, they're smooth. And if you move your hand in the other direction, they're rough. But do you notice that you are one way or the other as you touch yourself in that part? And is there any hardness to the area? So like, is there anything hard or is it soft? And, obviously like a bone is harder than a fat or even harder than muscle, right? And that has to do with the different kinds of tissues in there. So if you're in an area and maybe it has multiple types of tissue in that area, so maybe it's got muscle and maybe it's got fat and maybe it's got bone and maybe it's got connective tissue and nerves and a whole bunch of things just in that one little area. And then be still for a moment with your hands still on the area. And does it feel like there's anything moving inside of it when you're still? So if you just hold your hands still in that area, does it feel like there's anything moving in there? Or does it feel kind of still? And if you feel movement, notice the quality of the movement. Is it bubbles? Is it gurgling? Is it pulsation? Is it a degree of movement? Is it a strong movement or a barely detectable movement? Can you move that area now? Can you consciously move that area? Is there anything you could do to consciously move that area? Or anything you could do to manually manipulate that area with your hands or by using another part of your body to move that area? And then the sensations that you're feeling there, whatever you're feeling, do you feel them a lot? Or does it feel like, oh, I need to spend more time going into this? And we went through, the hot versus the cold, and we went through the rough versus the smooth, movement versus no movement, and density, all these different qualities to it. And now what I want you to do is go somewhere else on your body that is not this part. We're going to come back to it and just feel another part. So for contrast, just leave that for a moment, pick it for a moment. Could be like a totally different part of the body. It could be the same part on the other side. Just for contrast's sake, obviously, the further you go in terms of likeness. Like if you go from your foot to your belly, that's very different than going from your foot to your hand or your foot to your other foot. So go to another part and just do the same kind of feeling where you're gently palpating and pressing and rubbing your fingers on the surface to feel the texture, feeling the densities, the temperature. Just notice what you feel differently here in this part, just for contrast. If there is any movement taking place there when you're still with that place. So if you come to a complete stillness and feel that area, or the movement that you could try to do consciously in that area, or the movement that you could do using another body part, manually manipulating it. And so just for contrast's sake and curiosity. Now, go back to that first place, because that was the one that you decided you were going to hang out with today. And as you continue to touch the area, do you notice anything change about the area as you continue to touch it? Does the temperature change? Does the moisture change? So as you hang out there a little bit longer and you touch that area a little bit longer, what do you notice change? And if it's an area that's been like feeling some sort of sensation of discomfort or anything like that, just notice as you touch it longer, does that even shift? Does that feeling of discomfort or pain or disconnection, whatever reason that you selected that area and things that you noticed about it, does that change as you hang out a little bit longer with it? Does that change as you hang out a little bit longer with this area? So just pausing here for a moment and now really closing your eyes and just holding the hands in stillness on this part of your body, just holding your hands in stillness. And the word in Sanskrit is samyama, where you're bringing your inner awareness to that place, and then simultaneously you're putting your hands on the place. So you're taking your inner eye and then you're using your sense of touch to concentrate on an area. So your inner eye and the sense of touch at the same time. I'm going to pause here for a moment so we have complete silence for about a minute so that you can really just stay here and pause with this part of you, with your inner eye and your sense of touch. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and take your time to come out of that. I want you to grab your journal, and I'm going to answer a couple prompts here with the information that we've gotten from that exercise. So the first question is what were the qualities that you noticed when you first began concentrating on the area that you chose? What were the qualities that you noticed? And, you know, whatever came to mind for you of what you discovered. What were the qualities? It could be one that really jumped out. It could be several. So when your first discovery of that area, what did you notice? So the qualities, you know, that's everything from temperature to texture to the inside, the surface, everything. And then as you went to another place on your body, what was contrasted? What did you notice was different about that part of your body versus this new part that you went to? So going to this new place, what did it point out about the old place to you? The original place. What did going to this new place point out about being at the old place? And how it was unique and different, or had its specific things that you observed about it? Okay. And then after writing down what you found about the contrast and what the contrast taught you about this place that you decided to concentrate on, when you came back to this place, what did you then notice? Did your impression of this area change? Did it stay the same? Did it become exaggerated? Did you notice something else? How did your noticing change when you came back to this place from the place you went to give it contrast with? So what did you notice when you came back? What did you notice when you came back? And then when we were in silence and you took both your hands, your external sense of touch, and then practiced samyama, that inner concentration from the inner sensory experience on that area, what did you notice having both that external and that internal sensation at the same time? What did you notice about that external or internal sensation at the same time? And, you know, I had you concentrate on the sense of touch with the inner eye, but you could have also at some point in this have noticed that visually, right? If you had looked at the place. So what did you notice with your senses, your inner sense and your outer senses? And at some point I asked you to do that simultaneously. And what did you notice when you were holding that simultaneously, the inner sense and the outer sense at the same time? And then if there's anything else that came up that you noticed that I didn't ask you as well. Could be anything. It could be like a memory popped up of something, or I felt weird doing this, or whatever else came up for you. Or I want to do this again, and I want to do this on my entire body. Yeah. So the deepening of experience of our bodies that we get obviously from doing yoga, because we're spending the time concentrating on the body, right? To do something. There's a deepening that happens whenever we spend time with the entire body, but we can take our awareness and concentrate it in a certain area as well. So you can do this for other parts as well. This is a repeatable exercise. And I recommend, if there's any part of you that's been having pain, or any part of you that you are trying to reconnect with more, if it's your fertility, going in that like second chakra area for sure. If you're having digestive issues, feeling that intestinal area in the belly. And there could be a very specific area for you that you want to understand a little bit more. You want to get a greater sense of. I remember actually, like when I had first started practicing yoga, feeling like my feet were not on the ground. Like I literally had this sense that my feet were not on the ground. Like I was floating all the time. I didn't have a sense that my feet were on the ground. And I spent literally like 10 years of my yoga practice planting my feet on the ground and feeling the sensation of having my feet on the ground and concentrating on specifically how to plant my feet on the ground, like the angles that, every time I started a yoga class, it was the first thing I had people do. So that's an example of like one part of me, because I had a lot of upward moving energy at the time, but we have different energy patterns in our body. That's not necessarily going to be yours or anybody else's. Just as an example, it could be anything. It could also be a thing from like a trauma where you feel like you don't want to go into a part of your body because you're like, that thing happened to me there once. Like, you got an injury or something like that, emotional or otherwise. And, those are the harder ones to go into, but those are worth it to go into and access with this journaling. So we kept this a little bit more to a physical body feel today, but you probably did have like some things that were emotional in nature or thoughts about this area that came up, despite the fact that we were concentrating on the physical, the pure animal physical experience of that part of us. And so those are important things to note as well for your inner work and the things that you're coming to peace with in your life for your growth as an individual. Yeah. So I hope this was helpful. If you are embarking on a fertility journey and are ready to have your mind blown about what your body is really capable of and how it's impacted by the environment, then check out my book, The Ayurvedic Guide to Fertility. You can actually download the introduction to the book for free on my website at heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. Read the intro for free and then buy the rest of this fertility enlightening book pretty much anywhere books are sold. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in with us today. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. I really want to hear your feedback. To learn more about my work, visit heathergrzych.com. That's Heather, GRZYCH.com. And meet me here next time on The Wisdom of the Body.